good morning, and welcome to October Red, the review, the weekend review, where we wrap up and we speak about the fights that have happened over the weekend. First of all, I'd like to say a massive warm welcome to all of you that are listening today. Welcome to the new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, why not get subscribing? Thank you to the ones that are here all the time. You guys are phenomenal. We are building a beautiful community on this page, and I can't do it obviously without the guests, but without your participation as well. What I want to do is just probably kind of like introduce a little bit more of myself. And one of the things that I like to try and put out there is, I don't know, ambition, focus, determination, and self-belief, to believe in yourself and put that into practice. If those of you that follow my social media, it's up in the corner if you want to have a look and get following that on Instagram and Twitter. Those of you who know that I read quite a few of Robert Greene books, and I want to share something with you before we start off. And today's November the 20th, and it's in the daily affirmations of what he's called the daily laws. And the first bit, today's November the 20th. If you've got the book, you'll know that this is what he said: focus and prioritize. So I wanted to start our week off like that. So shout out to Robert Greene. Nothing really belongs to us but time, which even he who has nothing else. It is equally unfortunate to waste your precious life in mechanical tasks or in a profusion of important work. Certain activities are a waste of time. Certain people of a low nature will drag you down, and you must avoid them. Keep your eye on long-term and short-term goals and remain concentrated and alert. Allow yourself the luxury of exploring and wondering creatively, but always with an underlying purpose. So today's daily law is, in a world full of endless distractions, you must focus and prioritize. So that's the bit that I'm going to put in there. Obviously, like I said, it's some bits from Robert Greene, a book that I read, but we're going to get into it. There's so much to cover this week, and I can't keep this too long, otherwise I'll lose your focus. So if you're still here right now, well done to you. The topics that I'm going to cover then, we're going to start with the day of reckoning. We're going to start with me getting that email saying, get down to London. We're doing a presser. We're going to be announcing some fights, etc., etc. You know, I've been rambling on about it because I said it on a few lives. I've picked up on some key interviews where it was intimated that that was going to happen. And guess what? We got it. So I had the privilege to attend the press conference and everybody goes mad, but that's how you address him. It's His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. I've got the name right this time. Where he's literally got the promoters together. He's got Shelley Finkel, he's got Dimitri Salita, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn. He's got them all together on a top table, and he's putting on some credible fights. This is the December the 23rd card that we've all been raving on about. I did have the privilege to speak with Deontay Wilder. I spoke to Fabio Wardley. Check those interviews out. Jarrell Miller. And I'm going to forget, I'm sure I did 4. I always do this, but it was it was a brilliant day. I really enjoyed all of it, and I was glad to be part of it. Fair enough, people have said, all right, we want AJ versus Wilder, Wilder versus AJ, whatever way you want to put it. And you guys could have literally mixed and matched the heavyweights. Oh yeah, apologies, I spoke to Jaya Patai. I knew there was 4. Yeah, we could have quite happily mixed all of that up, but we didn't. We got what we got, and we're dealing with it because we're looking at potentially a bigger picture. AJ versus Otto Wallin. I remember when Tyson Fury was going to fight Otto Wallin, and AJ sort of like laughed and said, you know, that he fought him in the amateurs and that he was his sparring partner. And then things happen, things change, and look, now he's the one that's fighting Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin recently won a bout against Gassiev. I think it was it in Europe a couple of weeks ago. And Otto Wallin, I spoke to him previously, and he always wanted to have that bout with Anthony Joshua. I think at that time he chose Jermaine Franklin over the Dillian Whyte at that point. While in southpaw can be tricky. And he cut Tyson Fury. Arguably, could that bout have been stopped? Yeah, it could have been, but it wasn't. And here we are today. Now AJ is going to fight him. Everyone's sort of kicking up a fuss saying, you know, why would they put him in with a southpaw? When you speak to fighters, and especially some of the amateur ones, they're used to fighting southpaws. Fair enough. AJ spent a lot of his career where he hasn't fought southpaws as a professional. But as an amateur, you would have naturally boxed southpaws. Yes, it's completely different. But sometimes I think we can build up this this fear in our mind that because it's a different stance, or because you've had trouble with one before, which is an elite southpaw in Alexander Usyk, that every southpaw is going to give you problems. We don't know until we see this fight. I don't think it's getting enough credit as it should do, because it's a good fight. It's a good fight for AJ, and obviously it's definitely a good fight for Otto Wallin. So yeah, wish him all the best with that. We then go to what could be a co-main header. I think they're flipping a coin on who's going to go to the top. And it is literally Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. Now, please don't write off Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker was a world champion at 24 years old. He lost his belt to AJ after a technical fight, a points fight, where the ref wouldn't even allow them to box out of the clinch. He was separating them every 5 minutes. A very frustrating fight for those of you that watched it. Okay, we saw Joseph Parker lose, get the knockout by Joe Joyce. We didn't see him in the best fight when he went against Jack Massey, but when he fought Keane from Canada the other day on the Saudi card, we saw a revitalised Joseph Parker. And you have to remember, he did drop Dillian Whyte as well. I'm sure he did. Was that the one when he was counting on the floor? You know what? If I'm wrong, Base would be quick to jump in the comments and tell me that I'm wrong, because he likes doing that. Shout out Base the Kid. If you're not following his channel, The Hardcore Casual, get over there now. He does his picks. He's very, very good at predicting fights as well. But what I'm saying is we need to give Joseph Parker a little bit more credit than we're giving him going up against Wilder. If you look at Wilder's resume, the most credible opponent on there is Tyson Fury. Okay, so those of you that are saying, oh, I'm not saying that Deontay Wilder can't knock out Joseph Parker. Of course he can. He knocks out everybody. That is Deontay Wilder's. That's his thing. He knocks people out cold. One punch on the floor. But please give Joseph Parker a bit of credit, because this could be a tougher fight than we think. Hey, you may come back here and troll me after the 23rd of December when it was a shutout. Who knows? But all I'm saying is I'm not writing off Joseph Parker and his skill set. Because he's come back and he can be quite aggressive and quite spiteful. Before he was with Andy Lee, you'd have to back him into a corner to see that spitefulness. Now he's coming forward. He's out of that. He's ready to push forward on the front foot and show that spite earlier on in the fights. Could be a good fight. And we also know that Deontay Wilder is prepared to lose rounds because he knows he's got that one power punch knockout as well. It's a good fight. I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. You might think, oh, she's praising all these Saudi fights. Listen, when we were ever going to see these names put it in together, get in the mix together, get fighting together, we just weren't going to see that. So it's actually good that we're seeing it happen. Jarrell Miller versus Daniel Dubois, whichever order you want to put it in. I've seen a lot of critique on Jarrell Miller. I mentioned it in our conversation. It got to the point where I thought he was going through the whole of the alphabet with the amount of drug tests that he was failing. It was something that we addressed briefly due to time constraints on his interview schedules, because obviously he's over in the UK, he's getting mobbed. I thought this was his second fight after his ban, but apparently it's his fourth, so I clearly haven't been following his progression. Yeah, you can argue in the comments, should someone be banned for life if they test positive, and test positive at such an extreme, which he blames on people that were around him and foreign influences. That's not my words, that's his. And he's allowed to say what he believes is the reason why he messed up. That was the reason that he gave me. Should he be given a second chance? I'm no judge or jury. The fact is they've allowed him to fight again. So the powers that be have said, he's served his ban, he can come back. And I'm sure to God he won't be the only fighter that's been on a ban and will come back. I'll leave that one there. Daniel Dubois, We've seen a new and improved Daniel Dubois. I really do think that he works well mentally under the tutelage of Don Charles. I believe that he's brought him out of his shell. I saw a different Daniel Dubois walk out, you know, in Poland when he was there to fight Alexander Usyk. We have the low blow gate with that. I'm leaving that. That's done in the past. The ref said it was a low blow, so it's a low blow. My opinion, your opinion, it doesn't really matter. What the ref said goes. In that moment, it was a low blow. And you know what happened later on in that fight. However, we did see a new and improved Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dynamite Dubois. We know that he's also got that punch power. So him going up against Jarrell Miller, people were saying, and I was one of them that was saying, I would have liked to have seen Dillian Whyte there. But obviously Dillian Whyte, another fighter that's tested positive. So he's got all of his entanglements going on in the backdrop. But it is what it is. Derek Chisora, maybe he could have been in the mix with Jarrell Miller as well. There would have been some good trash talk. Me standing out in the crowd, so Derek Chisora was mouthing off at every opportunity that he could get. So he's actively still wanting to be involved. But it's not that. It's Jarrell Miller versus Daniel Dubois. We'll see how that fight goes. Daniel's definitely got the power. And of old, Jarrell, albeit his size, has the stamina. Arguably why. To be honest, I haven't watched any of his combat fights. So I'm going to leave that one to you guys in the comments to make your mind up on that. Another fight that I'm going to talk about on there is Lyndon Arthur versus Dimitri Bivol. A really good fight. I believe, you know, rumours that Lyndon Arthur should have been fighting somebody else. But listen, when that Saudi doll knocks on the door and says, hey, you're going to go for it, do you think that's going to be a complete shutout with Bivol? The thing is, they're both very good jabbers. But Dimitri Bivol has got that in and out, light foot, triple jab, then 1-2. He'll throw on the 1-2 combination off the triple jab. Can Lyndon Arthur withhold that pressure? Because even though Dimitri Bivol's light on his feet, he's pressure. He'll put that pressure on. He's just literally come forward, in and out. Kind of like the Usyk style, just bish, bash, bosh. A good fight for Lyndon Arthur. Lyndon Arthur is strong. Lyndon Arthur knows his range. Yeah, I'll leave that to you in the comments to, you know, decide who you think is going to win that one. Obviously, I do believe the favourite will be Dimitri Bivol, but we'll see what happens on the night. Another fight that I want to cover as well, and I had the pleasure of speaking to him, is Jai Opetaia. First time I met him, and what I will say is he does carry a presence about him. I mentioned this to Richard Riakporhe when I spoke to Richard afterwards. Jai Opetaia carries with him a real strong presence, and you can feel it literally trying to push you back. He's very polite. He's very respectful. I enjoyed speaking with him. I would have liked to have spoke to him for longer, but the hunger and the almost like the greed, the intent to take over the division, the cruiserweight division, you can hear it. You can hear the passion. You can hear the purpose in his voice. Quite powerful. And I've spoke to a lot of fighters, but his drive, his will, his determination, I don't know, man, it's second to none. He's going up against Ellis Zorro. Some of the cruiserweights, the thing is with cruiserweights, some of them look like cruiserweights, and some of them you could say Bridget are heavy, whatever. But Ellis looks like a smaller cruiserweight. Fair play to him for taking that fight. He's going to be compensated. And when I say compensated, he's going to receive a very good payday. You know, the rumours are that those guys are getting phenomenal amounts of money. No one's prepared to give me any figures on record, so I can't come out here and start blurting out figures, but all of the fighters are being handsomely compensated for those efforts. So you can't help but give Jai Opetaia as the favourite. But yeah, either way, the fight's happening. It is what it is. I've had a few people, and I think it was, to shout out to London Runs Boxing, he was saying swap Ellis Zorro for Richard Riakporhe. In an ideal world, that would be absolutely amazing. But with 5 weeks, I don't think Richard would take that. I don't know. It depends on how much money's given. I mean, yeah, of course, that's the fight that we'd like to see. We can touch on Richard Riakporhe's recent performance shortly. No disrespect, but Elisaro has got his chance. So just leave it as it is. Let him collect his money. Let him have the fight. Let him be up there in front of the crowds, the global crowd that we will be watching that card come December the 25th. I could go on to every single fight on there, but I'm not going to. Those are the fights that I've chosen to discuss. But what I would like to say, being there and seeing Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn together on the top table, to me was phenomenal, because they've been going at each other's throats for as long as time. You know, never been in the same room. I don't even know if they've walked past each other in the street. So to see them up there was good for boxing. Whoever got it together, whether they actually hate themselves and they hate each other, and they were just being polite for the cameras. The fact is that they were up there and were having Queensberry and Matchroom working together alongside, like I said, the American promoters and other promoters that weren't on stage that are, you know, getting involved in that. Spencer Brown's a big part of this collusion, as it were, this infusion of promoters. So you've got to give all of these guys their credit. We're going to be entertained. There's going to be plenty of real good content coming out of Saudi on December the 23rd. Trust me, if I could get over there, you guys know I'd be out there in a flash. But being self-funded, it's not something that I'm going to be able to do, unfortunately. But I will be doing, as per the last fight, as per Fury and Ngannou, we will be doing a live watch along at home. In case, you know, the guy that put the bet on a Fury on the other day against Callum French, let's see, gives me those lottery numbers and I hit the jackpot, and we can fly out there and get you some real intense, close, like, media footage. But yeah, so shout out to the December the 23rd, the day of reckoning. We know that allegedly that's what that's leading up to, is Wilder, AJ versus Wilder, Wilder versus AJ in the coming future. And then the day after, we get Usyk Fury, a card that follows in the new year. That is what it is. Usyk doesn't seem phased at all by Tyson Fury ranting at him. Who knows how that fight's going to go? I stood on my 10 toes and said that I do believe that Fury will win that fight. Fury can win that fight, of course he can, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how those two styles gel. I know a lot of people have, because of the performance that Fury had with Ngannou, have put Fury in the bin. I'm not doing that. Every fighter has his off nights. It does happen. Should that have happened with an MMA fighter? Of course not, but it did. What can we do about it? Do then we say that all of his other performances, you know, we just can't take those into account? He's going up against Usyk. We will then see who is the real king of the division. Like everyone said, this is the undisputed. That hasn't happened in how many years? Several years, and we're going to get that fight. So hopefully, all being well, that goes according to plan. Please let me know your thoughts on what you think about that in the comment. It should create a good debate, and I expect to be replying to comments until the early hours of the morning, because I do try and reply to all of them. But we've got to move on. We've got to move on, and we're going to cover. What I will do is I'll probably, I think I'm going to cover 3 fights on the Queensberry card that we had, the Magnificent Seven. And I'm going to choose, let's have a look. I'll go with our Birmingham's fighters, Solomon Dakers. Solomon Dakers recently parted ways with Matchroom and signed a deal with Queensberry and took on Webster. I think he's had more fights than him, but not been as active as him. I could get up BoxRec and get the actual stats. A bit of an unknown Webster. I didn't know who he was. Obviously, Solomon spoke about him in the lead up, saying that they'd sparred together as amateurs, etc. Those of you that know Solomon Dakers knows that he's very, very respectful towards other fighters. He's got this kind of like this GB thing where they're very respectful, and it's sort of like the gentleman's sport. So there wasn't really any trash talk. And I think with Solomon, you have to really provoke him for him to start giving that trash talk. So the lead up was very, very respectful. Now, I remember, listening to Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn's made, a couple of comments. The comments are, he's not afraid to lose fighters. He's quite passionate about fighters have got to also be able to self-promote. Fighters have got to be able to turn up to matches, etc., etc. And then obviously we get the announcements that obviously Solomon's the next fighter to leave Matchroom and go to Queensberry. A lot of pressure. Dacres was out as a sparring partner for Tyson Fury, I think for when he fought Derek Chisora, and obviously the Ngannou fight. So I know he's been out there for roughly 2 camps. Now, I spoke to fighters, and this is me just like giving you guys some tips, and I'm not going to make any excuses because I will go on to Dacres' performance next. Fighters tell me that when they're in the camp, say they're going into somebody else's camp, they spar less rounds than they would do if it was their camp, because obviously it's not designed for them, it's designed for the camp that they've gone into. So say, for example, where a championship fighter is sparring 12 rounds, if he's going into a camp for somebody else, he's maybe only sparring 6 or 8. And these are not continuous. Some days you might not even spar, so you're left to training. I have spoke to fighters and said that that's why they don't like to become sparring partners, because then when they get offered fights, it can cause a delay because they want their own camp. Fighters have said that to me. That's not me making it up. It's happened. Dacres went out there against an undefeated fighter and didn't perform his best. Arguably, that was probably his worst performance to date. Dacres is usually very fit, very sharp. Fair enough, maybe he's not getting the knockouts. I think Carl Frampton said he's got a 20% knockout as a ratio as a heavyweight. So the criticism started there. It's like people want to see heavyweights knocking people out. I've spoke to Solomon on camera. I said, look, it's not your boxing ability that's being questioned. It's have you got that knockout power? So we just saw a fight where Webster, sorry. Is it Webster or Webb? It's Webster, isn't it? He was allowed to come in and basically kind of like dictate some of the fight. Solomon wasn't able to control the rounds as he should have done. Yeah, there was a fair few spiteful counter punches, but the punches didn't seem to affect Webber as in to say, for example, to stop him from coming forward. That didn't happen. And these are the things that we want to see. We want to see that respect coming in. So your opposition will take that step back, but we never saw that. His opponent kept on coming in. He was tripling up the jab. Solomon was easy to get hit. And then he was turning away. I watched the fight with the South African, with Solomon in Birmingham. And that fight looked like the South African was spinning. I think his name was Thomas, was spinning Solomon out the way. So it looked like he kept on getting behind him. But then I started to see the same thing in this fight this weekend. I'm like, why is he turning away? Why is he turning away from his opponent? There was a couple of good solid punches that his opponent landed on him. Debatable, that fight could have gone that fight really could have gone either way. But if I'm going to be brutally honest, I would have probably give a round to his opposition. And then, even if I gave it a draw and there was the points deduction, he was very, very lucky to get the nod. No doubt there would have been some firm and stern, conversations, but I'm not here to kick anyone when they're down. It was a massive learning curve for him. I think he's gone to 8-0 now. He's just got to pull his socks up, get on with it, and really, really work hard, because he's got something to prove, because he's just been taken on with, with a new promoter. You've got to look at, you're investing money in a fighter, so you've got to make sure that your product delivers. And that's it. You want to buy something that works for you, that makes your brand look good. This is the game, isn't it? You want to stand there with your products and say, I've got the best. So to me, it's up to, the fighters have just got to really knuckle down, work really hard. Yes, I appreciate off nights, but to have an off night on your new promotional debut wasn't the best. But we'll leave it there. He'll be fighting again in the future. I have a lot of faith in him. Yes, he's a Brummie, so I may have a slight bias, but he's just got to keep on grinding on. And the only thing I'd say to him is we need to start to see those knockouts. But me not being two-faced, me not being a yes man, I've said all of this to his face anyway. So moving on, because we could dwell on that for ages. The Ball Dog Bowl fight. Paul Stevenson, shout out to Paul Stevenson, who is from the Red Triangle Gym in Liverpool. Really good trainer, absolute gentleman. He's got Peter McGrail. I like his style of fighting as well. He's got others, but Peter McGrail is the one that I'll run with because I'm sure you guys know who he is. So yeah, Ball and Dog Bowl, what a beautiful competitive fight that was. An evenly matched fight. We saw a lot of toe-to-toe action. I really like the punch selection from Ball. He's just able to put his shots together so well, and it's just so nice to watch. I enjoyed that. I think probably the kryptonite for Ball when I was watching back the highlights, because forgive me, I haven't watched the fights in entirety because I was covering the Boxer event. The hook, the left hook from Dog Bowl, and those were solid punches. You could hear them, but Ball was able to take them. So yeah, really good toe-to-toe action. And Ball was able to hit Dog Bowl a few times and get him off balance as well. So Dog Bowl's weaknesses, what highlighted there, and we saw that in another fight that I'm going to cover, is your feet. Your feet are key. And we saw Dog Bowl go off balance a couple of times. I think, did he get a standing count in one of the rounds? And I think, was it round 3? The ropes saved Ball because Ball was going down. Those ropes saved him from getting that count. Entertaining fight. I really enjoyed it. Unanimous points decision to Ball. And he remains a WBC silver featherweight champion. You know what I'd like to see? Possibly them two, should their careers progress concurrently, possibly a fight with them two later on in the line when they've got their honest belt holders. But yeah, lovely fight. Really enjoyed that. And shout out to Paul Stevenson. I like him. Good trainer. Lovely man. And he's a Scouser. And we're Northern. Right. Bentley Heaney. There's so many different angles to this fight. And when you talk about angles, you talk about Heaney coming in as the underdog. His story in his post-fight interview with Queensbury. Bentley, I'm a fan of. I've followed Bentley for a while. Commiserations for that. It was sad to watch. It was still good toe-to-toe action. I still think it was a competitive fight. Bentley stayed in there. Both of them really wanted to win, and we saw that from, like I said, the toe-to-toe action. But the thing is, with the boxing, like you said, you've got to really... Toe-to-toe is good, but can you control the fight and make it yours? The fighter that I always sing about that controls the fight and makes it theirs is Chantal Cameron. Obviously, we've got that fight coming back this week, but she's able to be, for old school people, you have a dance and there's a lead partner in that dance when there's two of you dancing together. Chantal is able to do that. Sometimes when we get this toe-to-toe, we can't really see who's leading because it's just that to-in and fro-in with both of them. I mean, it got to the point where Heaney was doing backflips in the ring and a lot of showbolting with his hands down, goading Bentley. Bentley gave a good account of himself. A lot of people are saying that he didn't perform well, but from what I saw, and yes, it was the highlights, Bentley did give a good account of himself. It's just that obviously Heaney got the win. on a majority decision. The underdog, you've also got to take into account. You've also got to take into account that Heaney is a massive ticket seller as well. And he brought a lot of people up there with him. You could hear the crowd. That crowd was definitely pro Heaney. You've got all of that following you up there. That kind of, you know, the cheering, hearing your name, when you think that you're going to be on the back foot, when you think that you're on the underdog, can really push you through, make you dig deep. But to me, Heaney was confident in there as well. Bentley caught him with some good shots, some really good shots, and he took them and he come back with his own. Like I said, to me, the punch respects, both of them could take the punches. There wasn't one of them that seemed to go on the back foot. They were both going at it. A really competitive fight. And I think Frank Warren has, you know, openly said, you know, Denzel will come again. He likes Denzel. He's openly said that on camera, but he's openly said it was nice to see, obviously, Heaney get the win, the underdog get the win. One of the things that I wanted to touch on as well was the post-fight interview with Heaney. He mentioned something that was really touching, and I'm sure a lot of you, you know, out here, the listeners can relate to that. The moustache, we just presume it's for Movember, you know, the month for men where they grow these extraordinary different styles of moustaches to raise money for charity. But he said it wasn't for that. It was for his father, who unfortunately, you know, took his own life, which was so sad to hear. It doesn't matter how long ago your parents die. If they die, they die. But, you know, under those circumstances, it is really tragic. So you could see the adrenaline, everything that he wanted to get out. He said that, and please watch it. The Queensberry post-fight interview on their channel with Dev Sani, Frank Warren and Heaney himself. The emotion that was running through him, the way that he credited his coach, saying that, you know, his coach has been like, you know, the father to him, that father figure. All of that comes with boxing. Seldom do we look at the fighters outside of the ring and look at their trials and tribulations in life. But even though it was a sad story to listen to, I'm glad he's bringing awareness, because he said if there's anybody out there feeling like that, please talk to somebody. You know, and what I'll probably do is I'll put all the action lines in the description for anybody, especially this time of year, financial strains that are on people, any problems, you know, that people are going through. I'll make sure I'll put the details in there so you can reach out and talk to someone, probably Samaritans or something like that. But there's a message to be had. You know, boxing, there's so much more layers to it. So yeah, commiserations to Denzel, but congratulations to Heaney, and thank you for spreading such a positive message after your win. Right, Matchroom, I'll cover Matchroom. Diego Pacheco, super middleweight, 20-0. It was for a WBO International USWBC title, and he went up against, is it Caceres? I want to make sure I pronounce his name. A veteran at 32, 6-1. A competitive fight, a really good, and I've heard them say it, and I was like, why is this a learning fight? So watching the fight in its entirety, which I did because I'm a fan of Diego, and it was after I got home from the Boxer event. Diego showed a lot of patience, seldom looked frustrated in there, because what Caceres was able to do is he was able to be patient, and there was this hook that he threw that was able to get round the guard, perforating eardrum shots, beautiful shots, and he caught Pacheco with a few, but Pacheco remained consistent. He's got Benavidez Sr. In his corner. You know, obviously, Benavidez goes up against Andrade this weekend. I don't know if I'll extend my watch along for that, but I digress. So yeah, a really good fight, and I think he got the stoppage in round 8, but he really started to pick up momentum. Considering he hasn't really gone the rounds as well, he started to really pick up the momentum from round 8. Calculated boxer. If you're not following Diego Pacheco, start to follow him. He's good, and I think he's going to be something special. He is at super middleweight. Now, another fighter that's at super middleweight in the UK is Callum Simpson. I like Callum Simpson, and I do believe somewhere along the lines, them two are going to go at it. And I like that fight because Pacheco is able to keep the range and the distance if he has to. Callum Simpson knows how to get into the range. He knows how to break down that range and get inside. More of the Artur Beterbiev style, where he likes to get inside and break his opponents down. Down the line, that's a fight that I'm looking forward to. The English versus American. I know Diego is Mexican, but believe he fights out of California. I don't know if he'd fight under Mexico for that, but yeah, definitely a fight I want to see moving forward. I'm only going to cover one more fight on this, and it's for Khalid Yafai. Suffered a round 1 loss, but what I think we need to do, he announced his retirement, but we need to give Cal some recognition. Yes, he's from Birmingham. Maybe I've got that Birmingham bias again, but you can't really, because when you look at his achievements from 2012 to 2023, super flyweight, we've got him as an Olympian, Commonwealth, British, IBF, Intercontinental, WBA, World Championship winner as well, world title belt holder. He had the WBA Intercontinental before that as well. All of his achievements that he's done for the sport, 5 brothers I think there is, and all into boxing. We have to give him his credit. We have to give him his flowers and say thank you for his contributions. Thank you for all of his contributions that he's done for boxing. He put Birmingham on the map as well. So a happy retirement to him. He got his final payday out there in California on the weekend. So yeah. Right, finally, we're going to, of the cards, because I've got to let you know what my schedule is. We're going to talk about the Boxxer card, Wolves at the Door, nice, lovely local card for me to attend on the weekend. Thanks, Boxxer, that was great. Just literally down the road, and I was there. We start off with Adam Azim versus Pettyjohn. I'm going to do that fight first. That was for the EBU super lightweight, and he ended up with was it around 12 TKO. Adam Azim, I thought, and I have mentioned it in the conversations that I've had with Shane, conversations that I had with Johnny Nelson, was this too soon? How do you maintain this, this fighter that's deemed as like this superstar? Everyone's watching him. They're building up this hype around this fighter, which sometimes can be a curse as well as a blessing. Went in, beat the record of Spencer Oliver. Spencer Oliver went for it, 11th fight. Now Adam Azim has gone for it, broken it in his 10th fight. I was mindful that it was a step too soon, but we saw Adam Azim in there, calm, composed, good punch selection, and boxing with intention to eventually break down his opponent. Really, really good performance. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's got the win. I'm happy for the, Shane McGuigan's gym, the fighters that they've got in there, Chris Billam-Smith, Caroline Dubois, Hassan Azim as well, Ellie Scottley, just to name a few. A gym that is doing well and is full of champions. So massive congratulations, and maybe a bit of an apology for me thinking that maybe it was a step too soon. Let's slow his career down. Let's not push him too quickly. However, the post-fight press conference, I've looked at it on YouTube because I didn't get to stay for it, is that they're looking at Harlem Eubank. Now, albeit Harlem Eubank at the super light, it's 140 pounds, isn't it? Albeit, yeah, good fight for both of them. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that fight. I like the fight. But I think Chris Eubank Sr. made it clear that Harlem is going up to 147, that 140 is not a suitable weight for him. Has that come into fruition yet? Probably not. But if the promoters are paying attention, Harlem is supposed to be going up to 147. Therefore, it won't be a fight that Adam would be having. It won't be a fight for Azim because he's not going to be at that weight. However, the other fighter that's there is Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith, matchroom fighter. I think Dalton might have commented, "Oh, that blue belt looks nice," or whatever. I'm sure I've seen that. Don't quote me on it. Maybe I'll find a tweet. Maybe I'll put it up. But that's a good fight to have. And I think, to be fair to Ben, he mentioned that preferably Harlem. And maybe it's because it's an easier fight to get made. We can speculate till the cows come home. However, I think a good fight, you know, would be against Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith, the British title holder. A really good fight to have. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. We'll move on to Richard Riakporhe versus Bregion. Bregion? I hope I'm pronouncing that. A round 2 stoppage. I spoke to Richard post-fight and he said, look, I just want to stay active. I just want to be out there. Bregion has fought some of my rivals, so that's why we said, okay, let's get this fight on. Use it as a measuring stick. And as per usual, the power. I think fair enough, there was a low blow where Bregion got some time out, but Rich still managed to chin him with a knockout until eventually they got the round 2 stoppage. And then the towel came in. I was ringside. The towel came in, and then Bregion's coach jumped in the ring after, like, to save his fighter, just in case the ref didn't see the towel. That was the urgency. Yet no more. Just no more. So, yeah, Richard Riakporhe, everyone, I guess, kind of like said it would be a walkover. But the rumours is that the governing bodies for Chris Billam-Smith's belt are going to order the fight this week. So basically, he'll be ringside Sunday the 10th of December down in Bournemouth when Chris Billam-Smith goes up against Masternak, and Richard Riakporhe should get the winner first. That leaves a bit of a murky hole with what's happening with Lawrence Okolie. I've reached out to see if I can get him on the channel to see if he can, like, talk about what's happening with him so far. Nothing heard yet, so we'll just have to take a back seat and wait what happens to that. But regardless, Richard needs to be going for world titles. Yes, I would have liked to see him go in with Jai Opetaia. But I'm not writing off Billam-Smith because Billam-Smith has improved over the years. And he's a world champion now. So it's still a good fight. And it's a rematch as well. Obviously, I presume that's going to be in Bournemouth because if Chris Billam comes through Masternak, I keep on taking these fights for granted, that will probably be a Bournemouth fight as well. Because he's the champion. But I don't think Richard's got a problem with fighting anywhere. So wherever he fights. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So congratulations to Richard and commiseration to Bregion. I hope he got home all right. I saw his face after he's a bit battered and bruised. So yeah. Tyler Denny. Tyler Denny was supposed to be second to last on that card, but he sold a hell of a lot of tickets. He brings a crowd, and let's face it, he brings entertainment. Tyler Denny's first stoppage, what was it, round 8? And now he is also a middleweight EBU champion. He got the stoppage against, is it Cignani, the Italian? Competitive fight. And what I will say, Tyler Denny showed some improvements. He's getting a little bit more slick. Started to show more head movement. And I know you are going to say, I think there was a head clash. Yeah. So maybe there's, you know, some discrepancy on the way the fight ended. There was a head clash. But Tyler Denny wasn't intentionally headbutting anyone. It's his style. He crouches down. But we did see some more like slick movement from Tyler as well. I was impressed. You know, the journey that he's come on as well. Yes, he's from the Black Country. So it's not quite Birmingham, but he is local. But the journey that Tyler's come on and the way that he just improves. And he's sort of similar to like the Dan Aziz story. Similar to like the Nathan Heaney story. We've got these guys that come up. They come up as the underdog. People are like, oh, he's not going to win that. Oh, he's not going to win that. And they keep on winning. So surely this is a good reason to get behind the fighters. You know, it's their story. It's you know, that backstory. You hear it on the commentary when everyone's going, yes, and he's got an incredible backstory. He blah, blah, blah. this is the reason to get behind fighters. I have never seen a crowd turn out so much in that Wolverhampton Civic Hall. It was like all of the crowd was there for Tyler. And I do like that Civic Hall venue. Hopefully we can go back there again. If you've been to York Hall, it's sort of like an upgraded version of York Hall. It had that kind of atmosphere about it. Rooms off rooms, corridors, intimate, but good enough for some good fight nights to be held there. So shout out to Boxer for that. I think Tyler called out Chris Eubank Jr. and people gave him criticism, but if he doesn't believe in himself, you got to give him credit for calling out these names. Why shouldn't he? You know, fair enough. If the public don't believe in him, that's fine. The public have never believed in him. Like I said, he's gone into every fight as an underdog and won. The fighter has to believe in themselves. Yes, of course, as fans, all of us, we've got opinions. We're thinking, oh, you're crazy. What are you on about? But let the fighters do what they've got to do. It gets your name out there. It gets people talking. Wrong reasons, right reasons. It gets people talking. So yeah, absolutely fantastic performance. Congratulations. All the good stuff to Tyler Denny. And we wish him nothing but the best. If you're here, still here, then absolutely well done to you. So obviously this review is due to go out at midday. So hopefully it's around midday. Who knows? This week, I'm going to try and get into a couple of gyms. So obviously you'll see the content. Head over to October Red Media on Instagram, because that's probably where I'll put up some of it if I don't get the conversations, because I might just do a little bit of a video reel of fighters and whatnot. So hopefully I'll get out to a couple of gyms this week. And don't forget, I've got a watch along Saturday night for the Cameron Taylor 2. Probably usual from about 8 p.m. You know what it is. It will be scheduled. I'll be pulling it up after this. So please join in on the watch along. We have fun. It's good debates. And you're getting to sit around online with like-minded people, you know, and talk boxing. So why not do it on October Red? So yeah, join in for that one. I don't know what I'm going to do about the Benavidez Andrade fight yet. I don't know. I might carry on the live. It could be a long one, or I'll just leave it to the review on Monday. But listen, thank you for listening in. You know what it is. The weekend review every Monday. Yeah. And as we say, stay ready.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.